Hi and welcome. My name's Ken and this is Ken Fisher Photography. Today I want to show you how to add a little bit of atmosphere to an image using a light beam brush in a vignette. So we're going to create our very own light beams from scratch, and then we're just going to add a vignette to it. Not a symmetrical vignette, but we're going to use a custom vignette and we're going to draw that ourselves. Okay, so lots to do. Let's get on. Okay, first thing we need to do is to make a background for the brush. So I'm just going to create a new square. I'm going to go File and New, and what I want is a 5000 by 5000 by 72 ppi background. And I'm just going to, I use this a lot for making my brushes anyway, so I've got one set out as a custom. So if I just click on that, it puts the right numbers in. I want black for my background, and then I'm going to click Create. There we go. And we've now got our background for our brush. Next I'm going to create a blank layer to put the brush on. So I'm going to go up to my Layers panel, click on the new layer icon, and then I'll call this one Raise. You can call it anything you like, but I'll call it Raise. And I'm just going to make sure that's targeted. And then I'm going to create an area that I'm going to use. So I'm going to use my elliptical marquee tool, and then I'm going to hold the shift key down so I'm dragging in proportion, and I'm going to click out a circle, just reposition it somewhere in the middle there, and then let go. And we're cooking with gas. Okay, now I need to soften this edge. At the moment it's a bit of a razor cut. So I'm going to go to my Select menu, and I'm going to go down to Modify and down to Feather. And I'm going to feather this by a big amount, because I want it nice and soft, of 200 pixels. And I'll click OK. Now you won't see anything happen. You won't unless we move that or we actually do something inside the selection. Well, I'm going to do something. What I'm going to do is use a filter to start things off. Now what I want to make sure of, that my foreground colour's white, background colour's black. If they're not, I can press the D key and then the X key to reset them. And then I'm going to go up to my filter menu, and I'm going to go down to Render, and I'm going to go down to Clouds. And that's got me a nice set of clouds in, but you can see here now that it's nice and soft. Okay, now I really don't need that selection anymore, so I'm going to press Ctrl and D to deselect the selection. Next I'm going to use another filter. So I'm going to go to the filter menu, down to Blur, and we're going to use a radial blur. Now I've done this a few times, so you can see normally this is in the center, but what I need you to do is click and drag it so it's right up in that corner. So that's where the blur is going to emanate from, and it's going to give us a little bit of a light ray look. Make sure that the amount's up at 99 or 100, and then we click OK. And in a sec, oh yeah, that's not bad to start with. Now I think it needs brightening up a little bit, so I'm going to go to my Image and Adjustments and Levels, and I'm going to put my levels at put my black point at about 25, put my midpoint at something like 0.65, and we'll put my white point at something like 205. These are figures, they'll be different for you, but these are ones that seem to work for this one for me. And then I'll click OK. Now I think it could do with a little bit of sharpening, so I'm going to go to another filter. I'm going to go to Filter and Sharpen and Unsharp Mask. And I'll have the amount pretty low actually, you know, quite low. And then I'll have the radius probably around, I don't know, 180, something like that, I think. Again, this will change for whatever you do, but I think that doesn't look bad actually. So I'm going to click OK. Now at the moment, because of the black background, I've got quite a lot of white in this, which is the rays that I want to see. But if I need to turn this into a brush, then the pieces that I need have got to be black. So I'm going to have to invert this. So I'm just going to make sure my rays layer is selected, and then do Control or Command and I to invert it. And that's looking a bit better. If I turn the background layer off now, you'll see we've got some nice lines going on in here. So I can now make my brush. So make sure that that background layer is turned off. And I'm going to go to Edit. I'm going to down to Define Brush Preset. And then I'll just give this brush a name, and I'll call it Rays. I think Rays 6, because I've been adding the brushes as I've gone along here, just so I can make a few iterations of the brush. And I think I'm on 5, so we'll try 6. There we go. So now we've got the actual brush. It's loaded it up, ready to go for us. So now I need an image, so I'm going to go back to the light beams in church image. I'm going to make a new layer, so we'll make a new empty layer, and I'll call this again Rays. And then I'm going to spin this round a little bit. You can do this either way. You can either do it later on in Transform, or you can spin a brush by just using the right keys and the left key on your keyboard. So I'll get it, and I'm trying to line it up with this window. I'd like to put a little bit of a glow coming through this window. So when I've got it about lined up, I'll just click. That's looking quite good actually. Yeah, I'm liking that. I think it's a bit big, so I'm going to Control and T just to transform it again, and we'll make it a little bit smaller. I'll hold the Control key down so I can edit each of these corners individually, and I'll just drag it because I want it to like line up with that window somewhere like that. Control key again, we'll just drag that up a little bit, that down a little. Well, I think that's looking quite good. I'll just move that up a tiny bit and that way, and then I'll accept it. Now you can see that obviously there's some light spilling over into the edge that we don't want, and I've got a bit of a straight edge here, which was the edge of it. So let's deal with them now. I'm going to put a mask on. I'm going to get black as my foreground colour, get a nice soft paintbrush, but all I want now is just a soft round paintbrush. So here we've got one. It's a bit big, so I'll use the square brackets to make it smaller. And then I'm just going to mask out where this light spills over at the edge, because I don't want it there. I just want it coming like it's some beams coming through the window. And I think that's looking quite good. I think we'll transform it a bit more, and we'll take it down a little bit. I think, yeah, I think that looks a little bit better because I'm lining it up with the light part of these columns. Okay. Now this edge here, well, let's try a gradient. I've got black and white, I've got my gradient tool, I've got the black to transparent, and I've got my linear gradient. And I'll just click and drag up here, and I'll just be able to soften that edge out a little bit. And I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, just softened it off a little bit. Yeah, so let's just accept that. And I think that looks pretty good. Let's just turn that on and off. And I think that is definitely adding a little bit of something to the image coming through that window. Now if it's too much, you can drop the opacity. But I think at full opacity, I think that looks pretty good. And now, just to enhance the effect, what I'm going to do is add a vignette, but I don't like symmetrical vignettes. So I'm going to make one of my own. So I'm going to get my lasso tool, and then I'm just going to draw what I call a wiggly vignette, just something that's not got an equal shape to it, and back round to where we started. And then I'm going to add that to a curves adjustment. And I really like that. Now this is the wrong way around, so I need to invert that. So I'm going to Control and I to invert the mask. And then in my properties panel, I've got the properties of curves. And I can now click and drag that down to make that quite dark. And the thing is with this, it's repeatable. I can go in and I can change it. Now, as long as I've got the mask active, I've now got the properties of the mask. And on that mask, there is the feather slider. So let's try that. We'll take the feather slider right over. And I just want it just to darken the edges, just so it enhances a little bit. It just gives us, oh yes, I like that, and I think it makes it stand out a lot better. So now we've gone from basically this as an image to this as an image. And I mean, we could put them in a group, and then we could look at the effect of both together. So that's before and that's after. That's before, whoops, missed it. That's before and that's after. And I think that definitely adds a little bit of moodiness to the image, and I really like that ray of light coming through that window. Well, I hope you found that useful. Try this technique out on some of your images and let me know how you get on by leaving me a comment in the area below. If you can, give me a thumbs up on YouTube, as it will help me drive my channel forward, so it will be much appreciated. Okay, I'll see you in the very next video. Bye for now.